Hello everyone. Remember when I told you that Silverfang was going to be the next banner? Well, now you know. You're going to have Silverfang banner, and it's right here. I told you it would show up. You didn't believe me, but here it is. Right. So yes, some people wanted a different hero. They wanted someone like Metal Bat. But today we're going to talk about Silverfang and what he means for the meta right now. So as you can see here, I've made a simple infographic. It's an infographic, okay, showing what Silverfang skills are for those of you who don't know. I mean, you've fought him enough in the dojo, you should kind of understand how his attacks look like. But these are the actual real skills that will happen inside of the game. So his normal skill is that he attacks once on a single target, deals 120%, and grants Berserk 30% to himself. This is the standard SSR treatment. It's actually almost the same or identical to Boros. Now the second one is his ultimate, attack 5 times. What I mean by 5 times is that you know how many times the skill hits. It's like 1, 2, 3, or 5. So you hit 5 times on a column. Column means the horizontal. It's the 2 hero similar to tank top. Dealing 150% attack as damage and applies internal injury. So 150% attack as damage is actually the standard also for column attacks. But the more important part is actually that the target will take 140% of Silverfang or Bang's attack as damage when attacked again. That's how internal injury works. So if you have another hero, let's say Atomic, that uses his ultimate after Bang uses his ultimate, then they will take 140% of his attack as damage. Afterwards, the effect will disappear. So that means that you have up to 290% in a single column. But most of the time, people don't really use Bang for either of these two skills. They use Bang for his passive over here. So, how does it work? All allies have their block rate increased by 30% for 2 rounds. So 2 rounds meaning turn 1 and turn 2. Our whole team's block rate is increased by a flat 30%, which is very, very high. And this is the crazy part. When an ally blocks, grant them 7% tenacity up to 3 times per round. And the tenacity is based on that ally's max HP. So what this means is that if not only does your team become tankier because 30% block rate, okay, whenever they block, which is almost like 100% of the time basically with 30% block rate, let's say Atomic Samurai uses ultimate, that's 5 hits times 6 targets. So almost all of them will definitely get a block up, and they will actually get 7% tenacity, and it can happen 3 times per round. Meaning to say that even after the shield breaks, it can come back again, similar to how DSK or Deep Sea King's tenacity works. So that's extremely insane because this is a passive. You don't need to cast a skill like Black Alloy or Black Luster's ultimate to get damage reduction. You don't need to do anything, it just passively works. So this is actually similar to it's like a merge of both Tank Top Master and Alloy's passive skills. Very, very strong and definitely useful for various situations. Now, as expected, because he's such a tank, he looks like a tank, he is a grappler. He's on the hero side, obviously, for those of you who know and watch the anime. But I wouldn't call him a tank, so to speak. I'll call him a buff unit, because even though his passive is there to grant everyone defense, none of it is actually based on his own skill. So you can actually build him 2 ways. You can build him as a offensive unit, kind of like how people like to build tank top as a damage unit, or you can build him as a tank. And honestly speaking, the longer he's alive, the better, because I believe that only the block rate here applies as a buff for 2 rounds, but the tenacity here needs him to be alive. Now, I'm not too sure about that, but obviously if he needs to be alive to deal the damage, then you want to focus on HP. But given that he has these skills as well, you can by all means consider put damage on him. He's kind of like a reverse vaccine man in that sense because he's defensive. Now, a lot of people are going to the quintessential question. Quintessential means the, the question is always asked, or the most important one. Do you want to draw Silverfang as a F2P or as a whale or whatever? Okay. I personally am biased towards Silverfang. I like the guy in the anime. I like the character as a whole, and I like his skill set. I like heroes that do nothing except survive and yet help their team. So, like for example, Carnage, right? Carnage is a unit that just sits there, does nothing, and then everyone just dies. So that's the kind of unit I like, and this is the defensive version of that. You just need him to be alive, and his passive will work. So I like him, but it doesn't mean that he's a compulsory or super important draw. A super important draw would be Zombie Man, because Zombie Man, his skill set allows you to clear certain boss stages. Now without Zombie Man, you cannot progress the boss stage. But with Silverfang, can you progress? No, because he doesn't have the revive mechanic. The revive mechanic is very important, and you will see Zombie Man used in almost all future content, whereas Silverfang, even if you draw him or don't draw him, eventually you will see him disappear gradually from your lineups. Some people even prefer Alloy to Silverfang for protecting their backline. And at the end of the day, it's up to you whether you want to draw him. But for me, I call him a budget support. Budget support because he's the type of unit where you can draw him and you don't need to put much effort or training into him, and he's still useful, which makes him very desirable because you can put like, I don't know, one cycle of black tickets into him. Preferably you just draw him at like the 60 mark, and you can leave him at like 2 stars or 3 stars, and that's enough. So you don't need to bring him to 4 stars, you don't need to bring him to 5 stars. You can just leave him at a low star rating, and he's good enough. That's it. In fact, even 3 stars, some people have been saying like, oh, you need him at 3 stars for block rate on the 3-star node. I honestly don't think so. Even 2 stars is fine, because this passive has nothing to do with his own block rate. So you just dump, like, if it's 2 stars, just dump HP gear on him. And if it's 3 stars, then by all means put attack gear on him. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you don't need to bring him past 3 stars, which makes him it's quite a budget unit in that sense. Now, how long will he be in the meta for? So he's one of the better grapplers up to 5 months from now. So at max, you'll probably see him for another 5 to 7 months period, because at that point in time, the meta will change drastically, that you will need more damage to kill certain units, or there are just way better units that come along. Now, where does he shine the most is that so the next few banners kind of look like this. There will be Metal Bat next, Zombie Man, Garo, Goketsu, okay? And when Goketsu comes out, Silverfang gets a chance to shine again, because Goketsu's passive is that shield like this and heal effects have increased potency. Potency meaning they're stronger. And all the way until Goketsu time, Silverfang will be a top tier pick because of the fact that he gives free shields. So in the early on, in the current meta, what does he do though? So I've made another infographic. It has a cute little Silverfang here, and a uglier, more fierce looking Silverfang here, and a nice gem, okay? So he's trying to steal your gems. All of the heroes in this game are trying to steal your gems. Don't think that you own them. You don't own them. You're renting them. You're renting them for your team in exchange for gems. That's the goal of this game, is to make you broke. That's what they've done to me, at least. And yes, other than the fact that they steal your gems, what else are they good for in the meta? So Silverfang's usage is very straightforward. The moment he's released, which is, well, 1st of October by the looks of it, he will drastically reduce the effectiveness of one turn kill OTK teams, meaning to say that as long as the opponent team has a Silverfang, you can forget about trying to kill them in turn 1, because the amount of shields and the amount of health they have is just so strong. Now there's an exception to this. I'll talk about it later. But let's say you are fighting against the Atomic, Tatsu, or Metal Knight combo. It's very sad for Metal Knight. She just came out and it's now fucked. But if you are playing against lineups like that, your damage is going to be heavily reduced. First of all, by 30% block. Second of all, by the fact that after you cast those ultimates, they get a shield up, which means you can't finish them off easily. They have basically plus 7% HP. And if you add that together, that's like basically 7% HP times 3. It's 21% increased HP and 30% block, which is by default minus 50% damage. Now, he allows you to fill the grappler slot. Well, everyone is a grappler, so filling the grappler slot doesn't mean much, right? But you get to fill him for hero teams cheaply. What I mean by cheaply is that you don't need like a 5-star alloy or a 5. You would rather have a 4-star alloy or a 5-star tank top. But if you don't want to invest that kind of 5-star tier money, you just have a 2-star or 3-star Silverfang, you can fill the slot. So for example, for me, I have not trained my alloy in ages, even though I still use him. I have not put any resources into tank top at all. My choice of a tank would be Silverfang because he's so he's so passive, right? Okay. Now, he is the first unit that kickstarts what we call the pure tank lineup meta, which starts with Silverfang, goes on to Zombie Man, goes on to, well, Garo, because Garo is unyielding, even though he's a DPS unit, and ends with Goketsu, which heals your team and deals damage and increases healing and increases shields. So that's the pure tank lineup, and the reason for it is very simple. Zombie Man, his core, he has a core. It requires 1 duelist, which is himself, and 3 grapplers. Can you imagine, like, all the time we've been complaining about grappler meta? Oh my god, everything needs grappler badges. Oh my god, fuck this, fuck that, everything needs grappler, fuck this game, right? And then suddenly, boom, they throw you a bone. They tell you, hey, remember all those grapplers that I told you about? You can now use them in the same lineup and still get energy. Amazing. Okay, so besides the point, now I want to bring it back out of the zombie man conversation and to the current conversation. So why I mean that he kickstarts this pure tank meta is because if you can't kill the opponent in 1 turn, then the best units in the game are suddenly very clear. It's all your healer units, your tank units, your Melzagard, your Carnage, even Mosquito Girl, Boros to some extent, and that's the interesting part about the tank lineup meta. It changes things drastically. We used to think of Atomic and Tatsu as like strong units. Now they basically debated all of you. They said, let's have a rate up for Atomic, let's have a rate up for Tatsu, and suddenly, boom, they're all useless, right? And that's pretty much what they've done here. They've completely thrown those lineups out of the meta. They are still going to deal damage, just that it's going to be heavily reduced by this guy. Okay? Now I'm going to bring in the exception, which is ironically, well, it's King, a paid unit. What do you expect? You have to pay to counter a paid unit. That's how it works. So how does King counter him? It's very simple. King's damage is not only high, it pierces tenacity, pierces shields. The extra damage that King deals, it completely counters shields. Which means that if you have a King, you can counter Silverfang. You deal damage through the shields. Okay, and that's very important because you don't want to proc the shield 3 times in a turn, but King allows you to not have to care about the shields and just go deal damage directly. Okay. Now, the second thing is that healing lineups are suddenly stronger because the fights are dragged out. Guess what? King heals. King counters everything about Silverfang. Okay? And for healing lineups like Melza, Boros, Carnage, Mosquito, whatever fuck else you can think of, guess what? They're all rare. Who trains Mosquito Girl nowadays? If you've been leveling Carnage, good for you. But what if you don't have Carnage? And then what about Boros? No one draws Boros. No one uses Boros. And Boros actually kills most lineups because he suicides himself on Carnage and causes his whole team to die as well. And then Melza is like, who the fuck has Melza? I don't have Melza. I'm a whale. I don't fucking have Melza. So basically, everything about Silverfang, as far as you can tell, other than the fact for King's existence, right, it's almost not counterable. Anyways, the brute force your way through, right? Okay, and then I put here DOT lineup, but actually this needs some testing because in practice, even though a DOT lineup can pierce the damage output for shields, I don't think it works as well as what it is in my mind, right? If you have a Silverfang combo Vaccine Man lineup versus an OTK lineup, you would probably win because your DOT pierces, which is great, but then you would need to have Silverfang, which is weird. It's like saying, oh, the counter to the other Silverfang is for me to also have Silverfang. Why? Because first of all, OTK kills you before Combo and Vaccine Man get their work done. So both sides would need to have Silverfang for DOT to be a counter. In other words, it's a tiebreaker. If both teams have Silverfang, then DOT is useful. If both teams don't have Silverfang, then OTK would still win. So that's the interesting part. Even though I put DOT lineup here, I don't actually mean like it's a absolute counter. It's more like a sub counter. It's more like something you can think of if you want a Silverfang to counter the Tatsus and the Atomics out there. And yeah, so I hope that was a useful video. And if you don't know yet why I'm releasing this video tonight, is because I just showed you just now that the YouTube video from the official One Punch Man channel released Bang as the next limited SSR. It's not a myth anymore. It's not my guesswork. It's just flat out Silverfang is the next unit instead of Metal Bat. And that's not unexpected because the C developers have been saying that, oh, I don't want to follow CN Taiwan. Oh, I want my own meta. But, you know, people are upset because there are some people who have been saving up for a Metal Bat. There are some people who like the character and now they're releasing it. Oh man. I'm not complaining because I like this unit, but I think that they kind of they fucked it up a bit, right? So regardless of what you think, I feel that if you're an F2P, if you've saved up a lot of black tickets, when I say a lot, I mean you've skipped every banner before this, you have some spare tickets lying around, even after this you will feel like you still have enough for Zombie Man, by all means, you bought, go and have a pull. If you don't have a lot of black tickets, let's say you only have 36 from the last banner, you put King, you put Boros, then you may want to skip Silverfang just for the fact that you might, what if like they do another stupid thing and push Zombie Man in front ahead of what would be Metal Bat, then you're fucked because you basically don't have enough for a Zombie Man draw. So if you don't have enough black tickets, don't draw Silverfang. If you have enough black tickets and you are bored as fuck, Silverfang might be it, because who doesn't like to see shields come up non-stop and basically fuck up the entire opponent team, right? Yep, so that's my video for today. I hope you guys liked it, and please, you know, don't come and attack me over this. I know that Silverfang is not on everyone's wish list, but yeah. Okay, see you guys. Bye bye.